Hello everyone, Soulflame here, playing on my Guardian Druid Artemis. Today I'll be giving you a quick run through of the tanking silver mode of the Proving Grounds. As always, a quick look at my glyphs and talents. While you can't use potions during the Proving Grounds, you can use a health stone, so be sure to pick one up from the soul well near the door. During the silver mode, mobs spawn in from only 2 places. I've marked these places with raid markers, which you will see as I turn to start the round. All the countdowns and warnings you'll see as the video progresses are provided by the Deadly Boss Mods add-on. If you don't already have that, I suggest you get it. There's nothing special about the enemies in Wave 1, but just be sure to pick them up quickly and tank them normally. You shouldn't need to do any actual cooldowns to survive this round, but do be sure to keep up the buff from Pulverize. Maintaining this buff should be standard operating procedure while tanking. You want as much of an uptime on that as you can get. If you ever need to move quickly between 2 points, remember that you have Stampeding Roar, which allows you to stay in bear form, and you also have Dash, which automatically changes you into cat form, so be sure to switch back to bear after you get where you're going.
2, 1.
The Foragers here in round 2 have only one special ability. Each of their melee attacks puts a stacking dot on you. The dot isn't much on its own, but it does stack up quite quickly. You may need to use a minor cooldown in this round. I used 1 charge of Savage Defense, which worked quite nicely. Also keep in mind that if your health starts to get low, you can use Frenzied Regeneration to turn excess rage into health. If ever the previous wave is not dead before the new wave spawns in, simply drag the leftovers with you to pick up the new stuff. It shouldn't last long.
3, 2, 1.
Wave 3 introduces a new kind of enemy, a Flame Caller. It will do a special ability that puts flame puddles on the floor, and then begin to chain cast Fireball. The flame puddles not only deal damage to you, they add a stacking debuff to you, which causes you to take increased damage from all sources. Because of this debuff, you'll want to stay out of the fire, but because it also works on your enemies, you'll want to position them inside of the lava puddles. If you're having trouble positioning things, don't forget you can use stuns, knockbacks, and silences to help position your enemies. Finally, interrupt as many fireballs as you can using Mighty Bash, Skull Bash, and Glyphed Fairy Fire.
2, 1.
Wave 4 features Foragers like in round 2, and a large Flame Caller, which means that he will cast Pyroblast instead of Fireball. You'll want to handle these enemies the same way you did before. Take everything and position it in the lava, and interrupt the caster as often as you can. Damage can be quite high during this round, especially if, as I did, you inadvertently step into the lava. Be sure to be ready with your cooldowns in order to counteract this damage. During this wave alone, I used my Bark Skin cooldown. I used 1 charge of Savage Defense, 1 charge of Survival Instincts, and dumped all of my extra rage into Frenzied Regeneration.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Wave 5 features a new mechanic, namely that new enemies will spawn in midway through this round. As with any other wave in which there's a Flame Caller, you're going to want to take advantage of the damage buff from the lava puddles, so be sure to position everything inside the lava. When the adds do spawn in, you'll want to rush over and pick them up as quickly as you can, being careful to avoid the fire. I actually do a fairly terrible job of staying out of the fire. End up getting hit with 4 stacks of the debuff. In order to counteract this extra damage, I end up using a charge of Savage Defense. This is a round that's all about positioning. As long as you stay out of the fire, the damage isn't too bad, and as long as you make good use of the debuff, everything should die quickly.
2, 1.
Wave 6 features a new mob type, the Wind Guard. It has a rather annoying special ability. Every few seconds, it will knock you backwards and drop all threat. In order to counteract this, be ready to taunt quickly and hit any ranged abilities that deal threat that you can. In this case, Glyphed Fairy Fire is an excellent choice. Alternately, or additionally, you can use Skull Bash as a movement ability, since you won't actually need to interrupt anything with it during this round. You may have noticed me tanking with my back against the barricade in an attempt to prevent the knockback. Although it didn't work in this instance, quite often it does work if you have your back to an object or a wall, that you will be knocked back into the object and not go flying. So there's a handy tip to keep in mind for the future.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Wave 7 features both the Wind Guard and the Flame Caller, which means you have two special considerations to think about regarding positioning. First, you'll want your back to be facing an open space so that you don't get knocked back into a lava puddle. Secondly, if at all possible, make sure there are some flame puddles in between the Wind Guard and Sakari, so that when he drops threat and flies towards her, and then you taunt him back, he'll fly through the puddles both on his way there and on his way back. Like most waves that feature a flame caller, this is a positioning wave. As long as you stay out of the fire and keep your enemies in it, then everything will go much more smoothly. Overall, the damage in this wave isn't too bad. If you do end up needing to use a defensive cooldown, try to pick one of your shorter cooldowns, such as Savage Defense, so that it will probably be back up by the next round.
3, 2, 1.
Wave 8 has the potential to be a very high damage round, so you'll want as many cooldowns as possible to be available in order to survive. I don't remember to do it during this video, but I highly recommend that you use Berserk as an offensive cooldown in order to help kill everything at the beginning of the round. The Wind Guard will probably still be alive when the Flame Caller spawns in midway through the round. At that point, this wave becomes very much like Wave 7, in that you'll want to watch your positioning regarding the knockback and the lava puddles. As always when facing a Flame Caller, you want to keep yourself out of and your enemies in the lava puddles. Once the Wind Guard is dead, you can safely turn your attention to the Flame Caller. You can silence him to force him to run into a puddle, and at that point remember to interrupt him as frequently as you can, using your stuns, silences, and interrupts. Don't panic if there's still an enemy left alive when the final counter starts ticking away. The round won't actually end until all the enemies are dead or you are. One final bit of advice: the two most important things to getting through the tanking mode of the Proving Grounds are smart use of defensive cooldowns and careful positioning. As always, if you have any questions or comments about this video, you can reach me through this YouTube channel or on my blog. Thanks for watching, and I hope this video helped.